thanks for bringing us both a copy of your lesson plan. Notice that you moved into a new unit with chemistry. I just want to say one of the things that I've noticed, read throughout all your classes, but definitely in this last one and in this last observation, is that you definitely have a good rapport with your kids. There's always a positive vibe in your class, even with Daniqua. There's still like, you know what I mean? Like she still goes along with, you told her to move. It was not an issue at all. Like, all right, I know I was wrong, and I'll just move my seat. So it should still get positive vibes. We discussed in your last feedback meeting to stretch it and to get students to think more, especially when reviewing questions from the previous test. And I noticed that you tried to meet this goal by having the students report out loud when you were going over this, the Adams worksheet. So that was all really good. How did it feel to have the students volunteer their answers through this particular worksheet?
Overall, like I liked having engagement a little bit more. I don't know if I liked the structure of it as much. What I'm struggling with right now is like being able to check their work without giving them the answer and still moving things at like a decent pace. So really more like just getting them to like keeping things moving, but not lingering on like one or two questions for too long and trying to figure out more effective ways to have them kind of get to the answer.
Yeah, sure. Great. And so I noticed like you're definitely using different techniques to sort of just get them to get their answer and move the class along. So for you, what is the purpose of cold calling students?
Really, I just want them to recognize that like at any point, like I might be asking them to contribute to the class. I try to cold call kind of on a varying the students. So I'll often cold call some of my mid-level students first to give them an opportunity, and then try to cold call some of the lower students, sometimes on the same question or different questions, and then pull on the higher students to try to see where they're at. But just trying to like make sure I'm mixing it around. I don't recall if I did it for this class, but I have been trying to make sure that I'm actually asking the same question a few times and kind of scattering it throughout the room to see where kids are picking up on what their classmates are saying, and then still being able to kind of get to the heart of the idea.
Sure. And so what impact do you think that cold calling would have on your instruction or on your lesson?
In general, like if I start to do it and I'm asking, especially on the days when I ask more than one kid the same question, the level of focus goes up. So it definitely seems to help. Just having the students pay attention to what their peers are saying and to what my responses are to their peers.
Yeah. And so what was the challenge in implementing cold calling effectively, or what is a challenge?
I think for that lesson in particular, I wanted to try the concept map because I thought it was a good idea in terms of like, reviewing what it was we've done over the day before. But what the struggle was is that it didn't lend a lot for them to be able to kind of build up to what they were struggling with. So it was like it was like kind of a yes or no answer. Either yes, you got it, or no, you didn't, but there wasn't necessarily a discussion or a conversation or that ability for you to push that conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that really kind of made it a struggle in terms of cold calling for that particular, for what it was that I was hoping to get. So I didn't feel effective in terms of like what it was that I was trying to accomplish, which is to make sure that they were coming away with better knowledge. In terms of like giving them an opportunity to review and get a kind of condensed version of yesterday's lecture, the prior day's lecture, I think it was effective.
Okay.
But not necessarily.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to read from, I try to do some selective scripting when I observe, so I try to like get down exactly what you say. And I'm going to read through it, and I just want you to think about the feedback or think about what you're getting from your students. All right. So you're moving around the room, and you state to the kids, raise your hand if you put, this particular answer. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, this means that A is going to be a proton, B is going to be a neutron. What did you have for B? Marianne, what did you have for, I put for E?
Probably,
Yeah. Did anyone get something else? Then it was like, anyone? Sort of. F looks like most people got it. You asked the students to change their seat. That's separate. You transition by telling students that they need to open their book to a certain page. And then another question I have is, okay, so what do you think we will discuss today, Marianne? Anyone else want to try and take a stab at it? Rotelio? So the questions that you're asking, like it's definitely evident that you're trying to engage the kids from the worksheet, but I think that from what I see, that not enough students are taking part in the lesson. So even with the cold calling, you can build on it to sort of pull more students and then also understand a little bit more about their reasoning. So not enough students are taking part in the lesson. So I noticed Marianne did a lot of answering. There were about 3 or 4 kids that did a lot of the heavy lifting for their peers. So how do you think you can get more kids to speak up when you're going over any work?
I could just be more deliberate about my conversation, or just making sure I'm calling out the class, either marking it off on a roster or doing a statistic thing.
Yeah.
In the classrooms. But just kind of finding a way to make sure that I'm getting understood.
Yeah, because I was seeing even in your lesson plan, I was just really quickly looking the area here where you have Adam's concept map. This would be a good place to even jot down some names of kids that you want to call out. I know earlier you said that you like to call on the middle kids first. It's good to even pre-plan it. These are the kids that I'm getting in today. Marianne does a lot of heavy lifting, so I'm not going to call on Marianne. Does that make sense? So an action step I would push you on is to get 100% of them engaged. You can, like you said, the popsicle sticks is good. Or even have students popcorns in the worksheet so that they're calling on each other. And it's not just you're the one who's calling on kids. So that's basically deliberately getting different students to participate and engage in the questioning. Does that make sense? Okay, so what are the 2 action steps that you have?
Just working on increasing engagement, and purposely planning who I'm going to be calling on that day, either while I'm walking around and looking at students that I'm looking for, that have issues, maybe have really good answers, and then just working on having kind of a set system.
Yeah, excellent. All right, cool. So just thinking about the school-wide focus right now, looking at data, definitely you're getting data from kids as you're asking them questions. You're internalizing where your kids are and what you need to do in order to improve the next lesson. So I know you said you had a copy of Teach Like a Champion. There is one particular page that I'm gonna recommend you take a look at, or 2 pages rather, but it's just a small area. Page 118 and 119. I think you definitely have it down pat in terms of what full hall it is.
Okay.
But these are just like other ways to sort of like just make sure that you get everyone's, you get more kids engaged.
Okay.
Like here it says follow on to a student's own earlier comment, follow on to another student's comment, follow on to a previous question. So even though I know like it's a worksheet and it's basically like this word goes here, this word goes there, you can still like get them to call on each other and build on each other's responses. So like when they're popcorning out, like you can still have them follow up, like even if someone got it wrong, like pick on someone else to sort of help you out with this. But yeah, just take a look at just this portion, like it's the bottom of 118 and top of 119. That might give you some other help with that. So let's go back to this lesson plan, and you could use this for a future lesson plan. So here for this section of the concept map, if let's say you're redoing this lesson again, like what would you add to this section?
I don't know that I mean, other than saying that I would select.
Thinking through the action steps. Like how would you use those action steps to redo what you have here in the lesson?
Well, that's actually not here.
What's going on, young man?
Here I might identify potential students. And then here, calling in students that I need during the walk around. I would say having working on building answers. Maybe calling on a second student to explain like how they got the answer. Even if if Marianne gives his protons, Jimmy can explain how I determine the protons for the answer.
But how can you get Marianne out of the equation?
Well, I just
I know. She's the name that I brought up, right? Like how would you get other students who don't normally speak up, how did they get to be a part of this equation?
well, I mean, I think that's part of this, right? Identifying here, and making sure that I'm getting on students that I'm not calling on a regular basis, and I know who I'm calling on fairly regularly. And then, we talked about popcorning, which could be an option. The kids will call us. I've done it before. They'll call on Abraham and they'll call on Jimmy and they'll call on the kids that they know are going to get the right answers. They're a little. The 2016s are a little not the right answers, so they'll call on and say
Right. You can tell them like, all right, let's pick on some, let's call on someone who we haven't heard from in a while.
But just being making sure I'm using my roster, and that way I can check off and respond to the day.
Oh yeah, that's a really good way. Definitely.
Gotten out of the habit of that the last couple days, moving around as much.
Yeah.
And it might be something good for the class anyway, just to get kids more engaged, just to make it part of the grade for the day. Like you have to participate at one point, share an idea or a thought in order to earn that day. As a way to just kind of push student engagement on their own as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then later on, you can start to release the scaffolds, and then hopefully they'll be able to get everyone engaged on their own without the extra credit or extra points. All right, cool. When next week can I come by and
we're doing a quiz on Monday, so Monday might not be easy.
It could be any time.
I think any day other than Monday. We'll be testing on Monday, and we may be testing towards the end of the week, on the next chapter, but I would say Tuesday through Thursday would be fine.
Okay, What time is this class? This is the second.
Yeah, actually in like 2 seconds.
Okay, so like it's around 9:30. I could come. How about Wednesday?
Okay.
Yeah. Because then I have big cats like around. Yeah, it's in time. So second. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.